Hey guys, what's going on? James here, and I'm going to be having this small clip at the start of every single one of my videos leading up to this event. It is the first ever meetup kind of event that I am going to be doing ever for the MrBucsNation community. Is the MrBucsNation Game Watch meetup. You guys see it up here in the top left of your screen. Buccaneers versus Rams, September 29th. 4:05 p.m. at Buffalo Wild Wings on 4075 Park Boulevard North in Pinellas Park, Florida. If you guys are interested in going to the event and you want to RSVP, please send an email to MrBucsNation@gmail.com and let me know how many people you want to be going to the event, just so I can keep a tally of how many people are going to be going to the event. But without further ado, guys, I hope you all enjoy the video. Hey guys, what's going on? James here, and in this video we're going to be talking about how the Tampa Bay Buccaneers have signed players to their practice squad. So without further ado, guys, let's talk about it. Now, if I'm being honest, there aren't a lot of surprises on this practice squad list so far up to this point. As of right now, the Buccaneers have filled out 9 out of their 10 available slots for their practice squad, and at the end of the video we're going to talk about who that 10th person of the practice squad could be. I have about 6 to 7 guys listed down below, but the first guy that I want to talk about that the Buccaneers have signed to their practice squad is tight end Jordan Leggett, who really did a pretty good job, all things considered. He was really just a pure victim of circumstance. He had to compete with guys like O.J. Howard, Cameron Brate, and then especially Anthony Auclair and Tanner Hudson for those 3rd and 4th tight end spots. So really, Jordan Leggett, he just got pretty much pushed out due to pure value of competition alone. He's on the practice squad. I do, highly expect him to potentially come back later on in the season if there is an injury, knock on wood. But he's one of those guys that's really valuable to have on your practice squad. I hope we can keep him on the practice squad as well as all of these guys pretty much, because I do think that they can be very valuable role players. But Jordan Leggett made a couple of nice plays in the preseason, seemed to have a really decent chemistry with Ryan Griffin, so very happy to have him on. Next guy I want to talk about, now this person surprised a lot of Buccaneers media people for the fact that he was on the Buccaneers practice squad, but in my opinion, it does not surprise me at all because I love this guy so much. It's safety John Battle. Now, again, Buccaneers media, they were surprised, like, whoa, John Battle, this is a surprise. I'm not surprised at all. I said in my cuts video talking about whenever the Buccaneers made their roster cuts and whatnot, I talked about how John Battle should be on the Buccaneers practice squad, and he is on there right now. Very happy to see it. Did a pretty good job in a short amount of time with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I would like to think that he could have had a pretty decent shot of making the roster if guys like Isaiah Johnson, Darian Stewart, among others, weren't there, because he can be a very valuable special teams player and backup safety in my opinion. But now he's on the Buccaneers practice squad, beats out a guy like Lucas Dennis, which I will talk about him in a little bit, but very happy to have him on board as well. Next we have running back Bruce Anderson, somebody who a lot of Bucs fans have loved, okay? And I'll be honest, okay? Whenever I was looking at Bruce Anderson, whenever he came in, there was hype, and then he really took a downward slope, wasn't getting a lot of playing time in the preseason games, and wasn't really doing a whole heck of a lot that impressed me in training camp or with the touches that he was getting in the preseason games. But preseason week 4, he had a pretty decent game, all things considered. I believe he had 20 carries, 70 yards, and a touchdown. I believe that was his stat line. You guys can correct me if I'm wrong down in the comment section below, but that pretty much got everybody back on the Bruce Anderson train, and you know what? I'll go with it, okay? I'll go with the Bruce Anderson train. I like what the kid can bring as an overall balanced running back. I said as much whenever they brought him in. Initially as an undrafted free agent, he was definitely intriguing then, and he's still intriguing now. A lot of people are saying, oh, this could be another Jason Light undrafted free agent, gem find, whatever have you, much like in the case of Peyton Barber and Dare Ogunbowale, which, hey, you know what? I hope that we are definitely right on this one, because, the more good players that we have on offense, especially at the running back position, the better. So very happy to have Bruce Anderson on board. Hopefully he can continue to develop. Hopefully he doesn't go to another team's roster, because I think that, give him, enough time to train this year, and maybe you can bring him back onto the roster as the 4th running back. I think that he can contribute eventually for the Buccaneers running back group. You next have wide receiver Emmanuel Hall. Again, another player that a lot of Bucs fans really wanted to see either A, make this roster, or B, end up on the practice squad. It makes sense. Very intriguing prospect. I believe he's 6'2", very, very fast, and a very, very solid overall wide receiver. The Buccaneers brought him in from the Chicago Bears, and a lot of Bucs fans were expecting pretty big things from him in preseason games week 3 and week 4. Unfortunately, that didn't really happen. He kind of got lost in that really competitive backup wide receiver shuffle, but he's back on the practice squad now. Give him some time to develop. Give him some time to get more comfortable in this Buccaneers offense. I mean, honestly, he could get called up to the active roster eventually. I'm very excited for his prospects as well. Next, you have quarterback Nick Fitzgerald. And a lot of people were saying, well, why didn't Vincent Testaverde get brought in to be the practice squad quarterback over a guy like Nick Fitzgerald? And, this really speaks volumes to how interested the Buccaneers are in seeing what Nick Fitzgerald can do, because we did not see him play in a single preseason game. And, that's fine. Stuff like that happens. That's completely understandable. But, he didn't play due to injury. We didn't even see him throw a single pass in training camp or preseason. We might have seen him at the exact, beginning of training camp, but since then, we've not seen the guy throw a pass. He's been dealing with lower leg injuries since then, and the Buccaneers still decided to keep him on the practice squad. Now, when he first got signed, I was very intrigued because I thought he could be kind of a similar thing to the role that Taysom Hill has for the New Orleans Saints. He's a gadget player. He can do a lot of different things, not only throw the ball, but also do some other things as well. So I was very interested to see what he could do. Unfortunately, injuries got the better of him, and now it looks like he's going to be back on the practice squad, and once fully healthy, we can finally begin to see a little bit more of what he can do and what the role the Buccaneers have for him going forward. Next, you have defensive tackle Terry Beckner Jr., 7th round draft pick in this most recent draft. I was surprised that he got released, but he's now back on the practice squad. Very happy about this one. He did not go to another team once he was put on the waivers. Again, very excited to see him. He had some flashes in terms of a run defender and a pass rusher in the preseason. Unfortunately, it wasn't enough. He was going up against guys like Damone Harris and Patrick O'Connor, so he makes it on the practice squad here. Still very excited to see how he develops. Again, if he continues to develop more as a run stopper and a pass rusher, he will be back with the team eventually. I believe that 100%, and I'm very excited to see what happens with him. Next, you have offensive lineman center Nate Trewin. This one wasn't necessarily a surprise either. It seemed like he was getting the nod over the backup center position over a guy like Josh Laribius, who a lot of people were interested in. But, Nate Trewin here, he is going to be on the practice squad. Right now, as it stands, the Buccaneers do not have a backup center, so I figure, if an injury happens on the offensive line, you would figure that they would bring in Nate Trewin to be a backup offensive lineman, especially a backup center, since they don't have one right now. I thought he did an overall pretty good job, all things considered. He beat out Evan Smith nearly immediately after the first preseason game. Evan Smith was, boom, gone. So Nate Trewin, I think he has a good trajectory. I think he's going to continue to build up, and I think he can be a solid rotational offensive lineman in the future. This next one here, really surprising to me, considering that, Bruce Arians and his coaching staff has no history with this player. It's right tackle Brad Seaton, who was with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers back in 2017. He is back here on the practice squad. Again, very surprising, very, very surprising. But from what I remember from 2017, I believe he might have played in 2018. Again, you guys can correct me if I'm wrong in the comments below. I wasn't disappointed with what he was doing. I thought he overall did an okay job going back to 2017, and he's back here on the practice squad. Again, this was the most surprising move. I did not even expect Brad Seaton to be on the Buccaneers' radar again after the Dirk Cutter era left, especially after Dirk and his coaching staff left. But no, Bruce and his guys, they want to have another backup tackle. Makes sense. You definitely have a little bit of a fluid situation. Obviously, the Buccaneers did just trade for Gerald Hawkins. Big fan of that move, but I don't think that they're 100% sold on Caleb Benenoch yet as the backup right tackle, or even maybe a backup guard, be it backup left guard or backup right guard. But now you have Brad Seaton, who can help out a little bit more should an injury or should just poor play occur. Finally, the last guy who is officially signed to the Buccaneers practice squad, one of my favorites, it is cornerback Mazzy Wilkins. Everybody loves Mazzy Wilkins, okay? He played in the Shrine game. Everybody thought he did a wonderful job. I was there for that. I saw him play. He did a wonderful job. USF kid. Everybody's loving Mazzy Wilkins. Makes sense. The guy played really, really good in training camp and preseason. He honestly should have deserved a roster spot if literally every single cornerback that the Buccaneers have right now isn't a former draft pick. I 100% believe that he would have been on this roster, okay? Again, just another victim of circumstance, another victim of just really, really good competition at the position, but I'm super excited that they have him back here on the practice squad. He's one of the guys that I'm really, really worried about as to whether or not we can keep him, because I think that other teams will see, oh crap, this guy did really good in the Buccaneers training camp, and he did really good in the Buccaneers preseason games. We need a cornerback. Let's give this undrafted rookie a shot and see what he can do. So really, really hoping Mazzy Wilkins stays. You know, guys like him, Terry Beckner Jr., Emmanuel Hall, and even Jordan Leggett, those are kind of the bigger guys who I expect to get interest from other teams around the league should injuries occur to other teams' players. So really hoping we can keep guys like Mazzy Wilkins on this practice squad, because we're going to need him. I really think that Mazzy Wilkins can develop into a really, really good corner if you just give him enough time to develop for the Bucs in this system. Finally, I want to talk about this 10th man spot, okay? Now, this spot is currently unclaimed right now by any players, but I have 7 players that I think could get this spot. Some of them I'm, really hoping get this spot. So the first guy I want to talk about, Spencer Snell. I'm really worried that the Buccaneers aren't going to have Spencer Snell on this practice squad, especially since now they've added wide receiver Emmanuel Hall already to the practice squad, but hopefully the Buccaneers carry 2 wide receivers. I would love Spencer Snell to be on this practice squad. I'm pretty sure that he will come back to the team eventually, be it on the practice squad or the active roster. He's definitely going to be on the books. He's definitely going to have his phone number there ready to call if they need him, but really hoping that Snell ends up on the Bucs practice squad. I'm really hoping he doesn't end up on another team's practice squad or another team's roster. I hope we can get him back. Second guy, Jeremiah Ledbetter. He was waived/injured, so that's the first thing that really makes me question his eligibility to be on the practice squad right now, because he is hurt. Second thing is I'm not exactly sure what the restrictions are for practice squads, if it's 2 years in the league, 3 years in the league, whatever have you. I'm pretty sure that Ledbetter is eligible for the practice squad, so he's another guy I would absolutely love to have in this practice squad. He did a really, really good job and was really pushing William Golston for pretty much his starting defensive end spot before he got hurt. So really want Ledbetter to, come back into the fold with the Buccaneers as well. You then have Lucas Dennis, who, a lot of people were pretty high on whenever he first got signed as an undrafted free agent, and then things just didn't really pan out. Seems like he, couldn't really put it all together in time before he got cut. I would also like to see him come back to the practice squad. I know they have John Battle on there, but I do think that you could give a guy like Lucas Dennis a shot, let him develop a little bit more at the safety position, and then see what you have in the future. You also have Anthony Johnson, another wide receiver with Spencer Snell, with Emmanuel Hall. Everybody was hyped about Anthony Johnson. Anthony Johnson was one of my favorite undrafted free agents that we signed. Would love to have him back, but I also think that he has a very strong chance to end up on another practice squad or another team's active roster. You also have Cordarrelle Simpson. I'm sorry, man, can't pronounce your first name. Cordarrelle or Cortrell Simpson. I'm pretty sure it's Cortrell. He's another wide receiver that I'm a big fan of. Would love to see him back on the practice squad. He was kind of dinged up by injuries, which was really unfortunate, so I would love to see him get healthy, get on the practice squad, and show what he can do at the receiver position. You then have Emmanuel Smith, inside linebacker, who I thought did a pretty good job in the limited time that he was given. He really looked like he was fitting pretty well into Todd Bowles' scheme as a blitzing linebacker in run defense and a little bit in pass, pass coverage as well. I thought that Emmanuel Smith did a pretty good job. He would be another guy who would make a pretty decent amount of sense, because right now, as it stands, the Buccaneers don't have any types of linebackers on this practice squad, so he could make a lot of sense for any kind of depth if an injury goes down as well. And then finally, David Kenny. He's another guy, outside pass rushing linebacker, would also make a lot of sense, because again, the Buccaneers don't have any types of linebackers on this practice squad right now, and I thought that he did a pretty decent job, all things considered, whenever he was getting in there. Didn't look super spectacular, but I thought that he did some pretty good things that you can definitely work with if you give him enough time. But anyway, guys, that's it for this video. Let me know some of the players that you are happy that are on the practice squad, or that you're surprised that the Buccaneers have added to their practice squad. Me, personally, I love all these guys, okay? I was a big fan of all these guys. There were some guys that definitely took me some time to get warmed up to, guys like Bruce Anderson, guys like Emmanuel Hall, guys like, even, say, a guy like Nick Fitzgerald, simply because we hadn't seen Nick Fitzgerald play, but I'm very intrigued to see what we have in him. Ultimately, Brad Seaton, huge surprise to me, was not expecting him to be on the Buccaneers practice squad. But let me know what you guys think about this Buccaneers practice squad and who could take up that 10th spot down in the comment section below. I hope you guys all enjoyed this video, and I will see you in the next video or the next live stream. But until then, and as always, guys, goodbye for now, and go Bucs!